David is a Liar, Episode 3, and all I can say is wow. In 2021, a person named Jordan Henry emailed Elise Tarens and proclaimed, "I am sending this email to inform you and any necessary parties that from this date forward I will be acting as the arbiter in the dispute between yourself and David Hottenstine. Signed, Jordan Henry, Arbiter." At Arbiter JH1 because Arbiter JH was taken. An arbitrator is a fair, non-biased, law-abiding person that has the legal authority to decide disputes. In the state of California, arbitrators are required to be attorneys who have practiced for a certain number of years. Well, surprise, surprise, this person, Jordan Henry, was not a credentialed arbitrator. In reality, Jordan Henry was David's friend who had been actively a part of David's cyber mob, harassing, intimidating, and defaming Elise, her friends, and her family. According to the record, Elise obtained an attorney, Mr. Nagel Jr., who advised her not to agree to Jordan Henry's proclamation to be their arbitrator. Instead, Elise offered to come to an agreement with David Hottenstine outside of litigation by way of her actual credentialed attorney. You can see in the record that over a couple of months, each party agreed on the terms to be included in this new agreement. For example, David had asked that 3 specific music tracks would not be performed by the band White Fuzzy Bloodbath, and Elise agreed. David had asked that some videos be taken down. Elise agreed. David asked that he be able to have rights to music, in which Elise and her attorney reminded David that no rights had been taken away from him. Elise had asked David to stop harassing and disparaging her, her friends, and her family. David agreed. After this agreement was written with both parties' requests represented equally and lawfully in its terms, the final agreement was sent to David Hottenstine for his signature, in which he and Jordan Henry responded, "Mr. Hottenstine will neither review nor sign any agreement." David was obviously disingenuous about wanting to come to an agreement, even though he was given everything he had asked for. David had wasted everybody's time and money and continued on his smear campaign based on imagination. I find it interesting that David continues to lie, disparage, defame in the name of not getting what he wants, and Elise is a fraud, when in reality, David Hottenstine has been given what he has asked for multiple times in several different agreements within the boundaries of the law. It's like David Hottenstine is a toddler who wants to get attention through any means necessary, even if it's bad attention or if it's self-sabotaging, and continues to have tantrums even though he has been given what he's asked for. Because no sane person would continue to threaten and harass music business partners if there was a potential to work together in the future. No sane person would create extreme lies surrounding the largest music project you've ever been a part of. A sane person would move on with their life. In this case, David should have used the White Fuzzy Bloodbath project on his music resume to boost him into potentially another cool project. But as we've seen over the last 6 years, David's only claim to fame is trying to grab attention by attempting to disparage and defame the only solid project he will ever be a part of. I, for one, do not blame Elise Tarens for finally going public with this information. I can only imagine 6 years of dealing with somebody who continues to lie and be unreasonable despite being given what he's asked for. And not to mention, in 2021, after David Hottenstine wasted everybody's time and money for the countless time, Elise responded, "If Dave takes any legal action towards me or the band, including a cease and desist, I will countersue. Stop contacting me. Unless Dave wants to come to an agreement, which he agreed to, do not contact me." Honestly, Elise has kept up with her word time and time again, and after David's most recent resurgence, Elise has filed multiple cases against David Hottenstine, and I am excited to see her get the justice she deserves. I think the recent interview on Echoflex Media's Local Love sums this situation up perfectly.
You didn't want to deal with this in the court of public opinion, but it seems like if he's still going, I mean, even after 2 years that he came at us that way, I'm surprised that he's still, what's going, like, why would you keep doing this? What's in it for him? Like,
I wish I knew the answer because maybe that would stop it. But I did talk to his roommates because I did have to do a restraining order case the other week. And his roommates basically, like, they made a statement and they said that we don't know what's wrong with him, but basically he just won't shut up about you. And he just constantly talks about wanting to destroy you. So I wish I knew the answer. Honestly, it's really scary. I am honestly like so scared he's going to show up to a show and hurt me. Like I'm so scared about that. It just is really, really weird to me, like going through all the text messages and emails and being like, wow, like I love that guy. Like to me, it's just like a completely different person. I don't know what happened to him, but, he to me is really unhinged and really scary. And yeah, it sucks because like I didn't want to have to do this. I didn't want to have to air out our laundry, right? Like it's like personal things that could have been solved in other ways. But here we are, 6 years later.
Or sometimes you accept that a relationship just went bad and there's nothing to solve.
Yeah, like a normal person.
Yeah. And this is 6 years after a breakup. This isn't like and it's not okay when it's like immediately after a breakup, but it's much more common for this kind of behavior for a few months after a breakup and then for it to fall off. But my understanding of this is like the only way I even knew about this after we had interviewed you the first time, you had just kind of mentioned in passing there was a former member that's no longer in the band.
Because I was being professional and polite.
Right. And you didn't know us. You didn't know if we knew him. And then immediately after we put the podcast out, the guy's up our ass. And up our ass just about including the White Fuzzy Bloodbath music in the podcast. And I said to you before, and I'm going to say it again, that I feel kind of bad that we didn't stick up for you guys because the guy, like, the way he came at us was a huge red flag. Yeah. Like it wasn't like, hey man, that's my copyrighted work and I didn't give you permission for it. I'm not going to come after you for it, but I'd appreciate, something like that would have been
like nice, calm person.
He wrote like 1,000 words in a comment in our Facebook group that we barely even monitor that somebody else had to point out to me.
And he's like harassing you publicly for something that he could have taken care of in an adult way. We were talking to a record label at the time and we got our contract sorted. We signed the contract and they dropped us because of Dave's false accusations. The whole thing about like the copyrighted material and stealing material is that Dave is saying like, listen, I wrote these songs, they're mine, but that's actually not true because when you look at the release, there's a 2015, 2016, and 2017 release that Dave is on. Bro, you are literally listed as a co-author on the physical album, on the digital album. Since 2015, you were listed as a co-author because you agreed to it. And now 6 years later, you have an issue? Like, come on. It's not about the copyright. It's because he won't get on with his life. Like, even if I pitched a song and wrote the majority of the song, everybody's still a co-author. And the reason we did that is because we decided that, like, hey, like, if we put out this album and one song gets famous, we want everybody to, like, be praised and paid for all of their hard work.
Well, this is a legal term and but it sounds like he's stalking you.
Oh, he is. Yeah. He is.
And that's terrifying.
He just found out where I lived and he sent me a threatening letter in the mail. Like I just gave it to my attorney. He's so unhinged. In the letter, he's like, I reported you to the FBI. I'm like, for what?
For stealing my song.
He won't stop emailing me. He won't stop contacting me. It's like, I'm married. I've moved on, like broke up with him, whatever it was, 2017. And it's like his focus and his MO keeps changing. Like every time he gets debunked and proven wrong, he changes. So like now his whole thing is, well, I'm the one who came up with the name, so it's mine. And it's like, bro, did you do the taxes? Did you do the business taxes? Did you pay the bills? Did you pay for the album? Did you do the promotion? Did you book the shows? No, you were just a guitarist. So no, you don't own the company.
And the other thing is, if he did all this great work, where's his new band?
Yes, that's it's like painfully obvious who the backbone of the band was and still is.
Yeah, it seems like, you know, it kind of sucks that you have to be this way, but it seems like you've been pretty resilient through all this and kind of kept your head down and kept working on the project.
It sucks.
I know it's hard.
It sucks. Thank you. It's been 6 years of dealing with this guy who won't stop bothering me, who won't stop making up lies. And, you know, a lot of people who know me know that, like, I don't really, during interviews, like, I don't really go into, like, the weeds and I don't really call names.
Well, I'm glad that you trusted us for this.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me and doing this with me because, like, it's gotten to the point, 6 years, I'm just like, fine. Like, I'm tired of being the professional and polite one. Like, fine. If you want to call me a physical abuser, I'm going to show the text messages that you wanted to beat up our friend. I'm going to show the therapy notes that totally debunk what you're saying.
Thanks for listening. Smash that like, hit the subscribe, go to the Patreon for all of this documentation and stuff that hasn't been announced yet. See you next week.